Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to today's sales snippet. I'm going to be talking today about essay structuring, or rather, an analogy for an essay structure. So, in my one to ones, I often speak to students about their structuring from the overall structure all the way down to paragraph structure, and including talking about how they structure their work, how they organize themselves as well. And there's an analogy that I use that students often tell me that they find helpful in understanding how an essay structure and essay writing process might work for them. And this is the analogy of an exchange student coming to your town and you deciding to give them a tour of your town. So, for the sake of an argument, we're going to use Canterbury as our example town. And I'm going to run you through the analogy, and you can decide whether you know who plays which part in regards to the essay. So you receive the email that your exchange student is coming to visit you, coming to visit Canterbury, and it's your job to show them around. They're only coming down from London for one day, and in that time, you want to show them the best parts of Canterbury. Now, you have been informed in this email that this person is really interested in art and history, so Canterbury is a great place for them to visit. They'll be arriving into Canterbury East Station and they'll be staying for one day and returning in the evening, arriving in the morning and returning in the evening. So you get this email a week ahead of time, so you begin to think about what kind of things would interest them and make a list of the places you would like to take them. You know you have to start and end at Canterbury Station, so you need to plan a route. Now, what you don't want to do is waste any time, so you're going to plan probably a walking tour because Canterbury is easily accessible on foot, and you're going to take them through a logical progress of locations around the town. Now, you already know quite a lot about some locations, you know a little bit less about other locations. So you're going to do a little bit of background reading and learn a little bit about each of those places. So, for example, you might take them to Canterbury Castle, you're almost certainly going to take them to the cathedral, maybe to the Beanie, perhaps to the Roman ruins, perhaps over to Westgate, and maybe if you're feeling flush and have some time on the river tour as well. So you plan a route that starts at the station and works its way around town in a logical order. That order doesn't necessarily have to be geographical, it could be chronological, it could be thematic, it doesn't really matter, but you're going to have an order that makes sense to you and that you're able to explain to the person who's visiting, to your exchange student. So you've done your research, you've made your notes, and you know exactly what you're going to tell them about each of these places. You've never met this person before, so you arrive at the station, you've been told their train gets in at 9 a.m, so you meet them, you work out who it is, you know they're carrying a backpack, you've never met them before, and you meet up and you say, "Hi, welcome to Canterbury, my name is, and this is what we're going to do today." And then you take them out and you just check that they're checking the road in the right direction, you cross over and you begin your tour. You arrive at your first destination and you tell them what it is they're looking at, why it's important, a little bit of interesting history. You might say, "Oh, and if you wanted to know a little bit more about this, you could go and go and look this up, for example." And then you might give them a little bit of a perspective on it, so kind of an interest from your point of view. And then you'd say, "Okay, and we've started out with this, and now we're going to go and look at the next thing." And you go on to the next point, and so on. And you work your way around each element of your tour, each highlight of Canterbury that you know they're interested in. And then it gets to around 3 p.m., and you know they've got to catch the train back at about 4. And you think, "Oh, we're pretty tired. We've done a lot of walking, a lot of talking. We've explained and learned a lot throughout this tour. Let's find somewhere to sit down, grab a coffee, and maybe a slice of cake." So you do that, and you sit down, and the sun is out unusually, but you know it's spring, and it's warm enough to sit out in front of a cafe, maybe on the high street, and chew over the best bits of the day. So you're not going to go blow by blow over the whole day, you know, you've just done it, but you might be like, "Oh yeah, I really enjoyed that," or "I didn't know that," or "Do you know what, I think if we were to do it again, we'd spend a little bit more time here," or "Perhaps if we were to do it again, it might be worth doing X or Y." but it's a highlights. You know, you sit down and you talk about the best bits, the bits that you would like your exchange student to go back to London and back home again from there and tell their family about. When I went to Canterbury, I really enjoyed seeing this part of the cathedral, for example. And then you take them back to the train station, wish them bon voyage, say thank you very much, and put them back on the train to London to continue with their journey around the UK and their exchange holiday. So, as an analogy for an essay, I hope you'll be able to work out which parts of the analogy fit to which elements of the essay. So, before your exchange student arrived, you did lots of research and planning about the best routes, the best rationale, and the best places to go. You knew why you were going there, what was important to tell the exchange student about. And this is essentially your planning, your research, and your inclusion of evidence and further information into your plan, which will then go into your essay. You already know where you're going to go because you've made the plan. So when you come to meet your exchange student, you give them an introduction. Your exchange student is your lecturer. They're the person who is marking your essay. So you tell them where you're going to go for that day. At each destination, which is each paragraph or each point in your essay, you say what they're looking at, why it's important, where's the evidence to back it up, and you link it with a rationale to the next point, i.e. you've planned a route through all of the places you're visiting, through all of the points in your essay. It's not random. And then from there, you're moving on all the way through each of those paragraphs and each of those points. And at the end of the day, you sit down, you put your feet up, and you go over the key points. So your conclusion is that cup of tea and slice of cake at the end. It's you going over the key points of the essay, not recapping the whole thing, just the highlights, the bits you want your reader to remember, your lecturer to take away. This is how I've answered the question. This is the important part. And from there, you sign off, you take them back, and you wave them goodbye. And that is your reference list at the end, okay? You send them off with some pamphlets in their hand, some ideas for further reading, and that's like the equivalent to your reference list. So I hope you've understood the analogy of the tour guide as an essay structure, and I hope that might allow you to see how all of your hard work, all of the planning and preparation that you put in results in a seamless tour of a particular idea or topic that you give your reader, your marker, in order to produce a well thought out, well planned and seamless essay.